Tomorrow afternoon, Thursday, February the 24th at 2 p.m., the Rady JCC's Music and Mavens concert series will be presenting Winnipeg's Casati Trio. Casati consists of singer and ukulele player Grace Harabi, guitarist Jesse Popleski, and bass player Quentin Bart. The trio blends elements of jazz, country, pop, and acoustic folk with stellar three-part vocal harmonies to create a sound that is truly unique. Casati will be performing music of Elvis, the Beatles, and other artists that you're sure to want to sing along to. And joining me here over Zoom, I am joined by Jesse Popleski from Casati. Hey, Jesse, how's it going?
Great. How you doing?
Nice to see you again. It's been a while.
It has, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I first want to talk about how the trio came about. How did the three of you meet and decide to start performing together?
Right. So it's been a long time. Grace and Quentin went to school together, so they knew each other from university, just doing jazz gigs for the most part, right? This was before Grace was writing any material, or at least performing material she was working on. So they were playing jazz gigs together. She was working with another guitar player at the time who ended up doing some other things and recommended me. So I filled in on these jazz gigs. And from there, we went from working on, and we had logged hours and hours playing this other music, mostly jazz standards and things like that, but got to that point where Grace was going, well, I'm actually writing some material. Can we check this out? Maybe you have some input on this? Because, you start to build this trust with people you play a lot of music with. And I think that kind of carried over into dabbling in originals. And so we did an album under Grace's name before making it a band, calling it Casati, making it a band where we were all bringing in material and ideas and writing songs together, rehearsing the songs together, arranging them. So that's sort of how it came to be.
And you're all three graduates from the University of Manitoba, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Can you talk about the name? Where does the name Casati come from?
Yeah, the name Casati, it is named after the Marchesa Luisa Casati, who was this Italian, sort of considered a muse. She was this artistic muse. She was this wealthy woman, turn of the century Italy. And she spent all her money having grand parties and having artists and people paint pictures of her. So how Grace encountered her was a famous portrait of her that's at the, what's it called? AGO in Toronto, the Art Gallery in Toronto. And it's just this, I actually have a picture of it here. I can't turn my computer around to see it, but I have a picture of the painting. She has this shock orange hair. She would put belladonna in her eyes to make her pupils bigger. She was this very eccentric figure, but I think it was just this idea of creativity, this idea of someone throwing their whole life or dedicating their whole life to the arts that really inspired us. Mm-hmm. So that's where we took inspiration from.
That's amazing. The group has a really eclectic blend of a little bit of everything. Can you talk about how you decide what tunes you're going to play? Like, is it driven by one specific person, or are the three of you are just sort of throwing around ideas? How does that work?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think with regards to our original material that we do, it starts from typically one of us writing a song. More and more, Grace and I have been writing songs together. And then Quentin's written songs on his own and brought them in as well. But it starts with a seed of an idea, and then we bring it together, and the whole arranging process is as a trio where we start to go, well, maybe this will work, or maybe I have this idea that I'm borrowing from something that I've listened to that maybe you two aren't even familiar with or whatever, but I have this idea and that idea. And so that's sort of the process. One of us will have the seed of a song. We might have the whole song, but not really an arrangement idea. We might totally revamp it, so a slow song becomes or fast, or whatever it might be, right? It's totally in the open once we're arranging it, but starting from that seed of an idea, but the arranging process is really where we make it sound like us.
Right. Was it a conscious decision for the group to be exclusively acoustic? Like, you and Quentin could so easily go electric. Was it a conscious decision to keep things acoustic?
I think so. It is something I fight with. And so we all maybe kind of do, because on the one hand, you don't want to box yourself in. You don't want to say, well, I only play acoustic and I only do this. And that could be limiting to creativity. At the same time, you find some of those restrictions can sort of focus your creativity and just say, well, how are we going to make this thing work with just what we have to use, right? How are we going to make a small trio sound huge? How are we going to make these sort of folky instruments sound classical or sound like this, right? So that's sort of the ideas we've been playing with. But every time we go to record, I say, I'm going to use some different guitars. Maybe I will bring my electric guitar in. And then we start recording. I'm thinking of the last album in particular, and it was, no, the acoustic is just right. It just feels right. So you just follow your gut at the end of the day, and that's what's worked for us.
So let's talk about the concert tomorrow. What can people expect from the concert? I know there's talk about tunes from the Beatles and others, but tell us about some of the stuff that Casati is going to be performing.
Yeah, we're excited for this one. We use these concerts, anytime we do something that's sort of where covers are expected, some kind of tribute thing, to learn a bunch of new material, to learn material we love or people we've listened to, or to kind of dive into things where we've, haven't tried that before, right? So I'm excited about this one in particular. I'm excited about the 50s material in this one in particular. The 60s, I feel like a lot of the music of the 60s, people like the Beatles, and we're doing a couple of Beatles songs. We're doing 2 Beatles songs, but the 60s, that sounds like it could have come out today. But in my mind, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe to some people it sounds old fashioned, but to my mind, they're sort of from the 60s on, it sounds modern. It doesn't sound old fashioned. Whereas 50s music sounds old fashioned. And I love 50s music. But when you hear what were you going to say?
So what kind of 50s tunes are you going to be doing? Are you going to be
we're doing an Elvis song. We're doing a Buddy Holly song. We're doing a song by the Flamingos, I Only Have Eyes for You, which is like a very doo-wop song, sort of leaning in a jazz direction, which we're comfortable with. But we've even on our record, we dove into sort of doo-wop style background vocals for inspiration. And this was a big one. This was a song that Grace loved, I Only Have Eyes for You. And so that's another one, which is very 50s sounding, right? It's the vocal group stylings, almost barbershop or doo-wop of the 50s. So trying out something like that. But yeah, Buddy Holly's one that gets sort of, everyone knows his name. People might know That'll Be the Day if they know a Buddy Holly song, or maybe, right? There's a couple. The song we're doing is a song called Every Day, which is just a love song. It's so sweet, and so just kind of perfect. It's this 2-minute song, very just compact and perfect in its 50s cute love song way. And the way we're doing it though, so when we do these covers, a lot of them we're staying pretty true to the cover, and that's one approach. And then with this one, Grace and I are huge Everly Brothers fans, and we're not doing an Everly just for when we were learning vocal harmonies. We learned tons of their songs just to kind of nail that down, because they're sort of the template. And so we're doing this Buddy Holly one almost as if the Everly Brothers were doing it. We're singing 2-part harmony throughout the song. And that's a way that we can kind of get creative with an arrangement, right? Still very much sounds like the Buddy Holly song, but sort of through this other lens that combines influences and things we love. So that's where we're heading.
That's great. And are you going to be doing original? I know Casati does original stuff as well. Are you going to be performing some of that tomorrow as well?
Yeah, we're going to do about half and half. And I think our idea is, as I sort of mentioned, some of our songs have things that are inspired by this era. When Carla approached us with the idea of doing a 50s and 60s show, perfect. That's the music we love. That's the music we listen to most. And it's music we've taken inspiration from before. So I think we're going to try and make sort of a clear link of, well, here's this 50s or 60s song, and here's how it inspired something that we wrote, right? Whether it be the arrangement or the background vocals or just the song in general, the approach to songwriting and all that. So that's the plan.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. I was watching videos of Casati on YouTube, and one of the things I found so fascinating is that Quentin owns a functioning, working hurdy-gurdy and incorporates it into the sound of the trio. Can you briefly explain to our Classic 107 listeners exactly what a hurdy-gurdy is and how the instrument is worked into some of your stuff?
Yeah, I will try. I do not play the hurdy-gurdy. It is a whole other world, but I will try. So the hurdy-gurdy, I think Quentin always references the French name of it, which I'm going to butcher, but is viol roux, like a wheel violin, right? And that's the idea of this. He's turning this crank that's turning a wheel that's rubbing against the string, so you can get a violin-like sound, but with a more even sustain, right? So it has that nasally but drony sound to
Right.
it, right? So where he can leave drone strings on deliberately, and then it has a little keyboard underneath, so he can actually, while he's doing that, he can play melodies like as if he has one hand on a piano, right? So
Oh,
it's this
wow.
combination of drones and melodies, and he can choose whether or not to use one aspect or the other. He may just have these drones, these long sustained notes that you associate with lots of, I mean, maybe just world musics in general, but especially this is very Eastern European, the instrument, and sort of reminiscent of an organ in the drony sustained note of it. But maybe the sound can be more compared to a bagpipe. It sounds surprisingly similar. Again, it's this drony feature. Somewhere it's a weird combination of things. I
Yeah,
mentioned
yeah,
organ, violin, bagpipe. Throw those
yeah.
all together in a compact wheel spinning keyboard, and you've got a hurdy-gurdy. And for us, Quentin was playing this. He was messing around with it with other groups. His brothers sort of have a Eastern European inspired instrumental group, but we kind of just thought, why not just to throw something in, something to change gears, to make us think differently. And we've rearranged covers using it. We've written our own songs and come up with them using the hurdy-gurdy. So just to throw something in for a different creative spice.
And it creates just a wonderful sound between Grace's ukulele and your guitar. For
Yeah.
Classic 107 listeners, it's really something to hear. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's fun. Yeah.
Mhm. I'm going to wrap the conversation up this way. What do you hope people are going to take away from tomorrow's concert as an audience member?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I hope they enjoy it. It's most of the material we're doing is quite fun. Like it's that's what I love about this music. It's fun. It's both creative. It's lots of love songs is sort of the nature of 50s pop music and 60s pop music. So I hope as it says in the program, we are doing songs maybe people will sing along with, but we've also picked some off the beaten path ones as well. So I think people will recognize them or be familiar with them, but hopefully be surprised and hear old songs that they maybe haven't heard in a long time, or are introduced to songs that they missed from that era. And yeah, I just hope they love that. And maybe we'll come away with wanting to go back to some of that music that they love, the 50s and 60s music, and enjoy it.
Oh, sounds amazing. Jesse, the concert tomorrow at 2 at the Rady JCC with Casati sounds just amazing. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today. It's going to be great tomorrow, I'm sure.
Thank you very much. We're really looking forward to it.